Psychological control is the mechanism that produces what is later labeled parental alienation. If the mechanism is understood, the outcome stops being mysterious. If the mechanism is ignored, the outcome is misattributed to the child. Psychological control works by regulating a child's internal state's fear, guilt, loyalty, and emotional safety, rather than by regulating behavior through rules. In a dependent relationship, internal regulation is more powerful than commands. A child does not need to be told what to do. The child learns what is safe to feel. The mechanism begins with contingent emotional access. One caregiver becomes the primary source of emotional regulation. Access to warmth, calm, and approval fluctuates based on the child's alignment. When the child expresses affection, curiosity, or neutrality toward the other parent, emotional availability decreases, sometimes subtly, sometimes overtly. When the child aligns, availability returns. The child's nervous system detects this contingency and reorganizes around it. This is not persuasion. It is conditioning through attachment dependency. Next is fear induction without threats. Psychological control rarely relies on explicit warnings. Instead, it uses predictable emotional signals, visible distress, anxiety, sadness, fragility, or withdrawal that communicate risk. The child learns that certain topics, memories, or expressions reliably destabilize the caregiver. The child then self-censors to prevent that destabilization. Then comes emotional asymmetry. One parent controls the environment where the child recovers from stress, bedtime, mornings, illness, school transitions. This control amplifies the effect of emotional signals. Because the child must return to that environment, the child prioritizes emotional equilibrium there. Alignment becomes a strategy for physiological regulation. The mechanism tightens through reinforcement loops. When the child resists contact, echoes concerns, or expresses doubt about the other parent, tension decreases. When the child expresses longing or enjoyment, tension increases. The child does not need to understand why. The pattern teaches itself. Over time, behaviors that reduce tension become automatic. This is where the illusion of choice emerges. The child's internal preferences begin to change, not because the child reevaluated the relationship, but because the child system learned which stance prevents distress. Preference here is an artifact of pressure. The law would call this coercion by consequence. Psychology calls it regulation under constraint. Psychological control also reshapes cognition through narrative alignment. Explanations are repeated that help the child make sense of the tension, often abstract, moralized, and adult in tone. These explanations reduce uncertainty. They allow the child to resolve dissonance, not because they are independently derived. Memory is recruited into the mechanism. Children's memories are reconstructive and authority-sensitive. Repeated reframing, selective emphasis, and doubt alter recall. This is not fabrication. It is adaptation. The child's memory reorganizes to match the narrative that maintains safety. A critical escalation occurs with role reversal. The child becomes emotionally responsible for the caregiver. Choosing the other parent now carries moral weight: harm, abandonment, betrayal. No decision made under those conditions is voluntary. Psychological control collapses ambivalence. Healthy attachment tolerates mixed feelings. Controlled systems do not. Ambivalence produces instability. Certainty restores calm. The child resolves internal conflict by adopting a one-sided position. This certainty is often misread as insight. In reality, it is a defensive simplification. As the mechanism persists, avoidance and rejection appear. These are downstream effects. Anxiety spikes around transitions. Somatic symptoms emerge. Avoidance reduces internal conflict. Rejection eliminates it. Importantly, the targeted parent's conduct need not change at all. The child's attachment system has already reorganized. Treating this outcome as the child's decision commits a categorical error. A decision requires freedom from relational threat. Psychological control removes that freedom by attaching emotional consequences to internal states. The child's behavior is constrained long before words are spoken. This is why asking, "Why doesn't the child want contact?" is the wrong question. The mechanism answers a different question. What happens to the child when the child tries to maintain connection? The answer lies in predictable emotional consequences, not in evaluative reasoning. When institutions accept rejection as choice, they reinforce the mechanism. The controlling contingencies remain intact. The child's adaptation is validated as autonomy. Pressure is converted into precedent. Understanding psychological control restores causal clarity. Parental alienation is not a decision made by a child. It is an outcome produced by contingent emotional access, fear without threats, asymmetric power, reinforcement loops, narrative alignment, memory reconstruction, and role reversal operating together over time. Until those mechanisms are interrupted, the child cannot choose. The system has already chosen for them.